Hello and welcome to The Kit Locker, a podcast of Black Site Media. My name is Simon Roberts, and we're continuing our review of reference pictures of the SAS SP team. And this video is about interactions between the royal family and the SAS. As you can imagine, the royal family being very prominent VIPs in Britain, come down to visit the SAS and the SBS possibly from time to time to review the kinds of contexts in which they may need the assistance of the SAS, such as a hostage extraction. And there are various pictures that have come up over the years showing members of the royal family with the SAS training with the SP team, presumably at Hereford or possibly at the training area at Pontrilas, Pata, the Pontrilas Army Training Area, and we'll have a look at some of these and see what we can identify. The first picture that we see is from a pretty well-known occasion where the then Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer, by then his wife, came down to Hereford to do a training day where they were, as you see here, dressed in commemorative fire-resistant suits with his and hers emblazoned on them and the unit crest on the left breast there. And we'll see a few more of these pictures as we go on. These were taken in 1983, so it's a definitely identifiable period where we can establish the use of certain types of equipment at that moment. It seems likely that all of the main members of the royal family will have at some time or another had familiarisation exercises such as these, with visits to the regiment for training days, or at least presentation days where they could observe how these kinds of operations would be conducted, so they could get an expectation, were they ever to be in a position where they needed the assistance of the SAS, of what might happen. This is an interesting picture with Her Majesty the Queen, the late monarch, and on the right hand side of the picture here, also dating this to around or between 1981, 1983 or 4, there is a very striking fellow there called Major Tommy Turtle, or Thomas Turtle, who was a soldier from Northern Ireland. And as you can see there, he's got some interesting equipment on which we've covered in our presentation on equipment from around the year 1982-83. You can see he's holding in his hand, facing the camera, an S6 respirator as we would expect, and he's wearing the Mark II, the suede vest with a radio pouch on the left side containing a Storno CQP 800 radio. On his left thigh, we can see there he has got the first pattern of the MP5 pouch. These are the ones worn at the Iranian embassy. Very simple leather pouch, Velcro closures on the flaps, suspended by a strap and buckle arrangement from the belt, worn underneath. You can see he's wearing the set of coveralls that were the first instantiation of the blue coveralls. Now we think these were possibly fluorocarbon coveralls. These are coveralls used today by police dog handlers. They can repel dog hair. They may have a fire-resistant quality. I'm not actually too sure about that. I've not looked into them. These particular coveralls don't come up very often, if at all, in fact. For collectors, I've only ever seen one set over the years and I didn't manage to obtain them. But these were referred to by the late Mel Parry, who we knew, who developed equipment for the Special Projects team, who was on the Ops Research Wing. He referred to these as the shiny coveralls because the standard Nomex coveralls we come to be familiar with later have a matte, dark blue appearance, and these were a little bit more of a sheen on them, and you can see that in some of the slightly clearer pictures. You can see also Major Turtle there has in the front position pouch on the abdomen where you would have L13 type rubber canister flashbang grenades. I think it shows that he's got possibly a first field dressing, a bandage there in the pouch. I can't see any sidearm from this side. Presumably he's right-handed, so he'd have a holster on his right side, and that would be the embassy type holster, about which more later. I would think the same occasion as the previous picture with Her Majesty the Queen, the late Queen, with the late Prince Philip on the left-hand side of the picture, clearly visible here, and Major Turtle there, just to his right, as we can see from before, with the Mark II, the suede vest, Storno radio, and you can see he's got the Storno press-to-talk button just to the right, just below the collarbone. He's wearing it. You can see the aircrew knife patch just to the left of that as well, and he's accompanied by a couple of other troopers similarly attired. This particular picture, you can actually see it with out the black bands covering the eyes. Slightly better impression can be formed of the earpiece that the trooper on the right hand side of the picture is wearing, that would plug into, or I should say is integral to, the Storno PTT. There aren't unpluggable components like earpieces. They come fixed and attached to the PTT, which is a green plastic with a large black rubber button in the center, predating the later Davies Communications press-to-talk buttons, which we'll see in other videos. Not much else can be identified from this picture, but you can see a long Storno whip aerial, which on the right-hand side of the picture, the trooper closest there, that is looped through a webbing loop on the front of the Mark II suede vest. You can see his hood pulled down from the assault suit. And I think just in the bottom right corner of the picture you can see somebody else standing just out of shot holding what looks to be the MP5. This next picture, again, Prince Charles, Lady Diana Spencer, and this may or may not be the same occasion which is represented in the more familiar series of pictures in which they attended to do a familiarisation exercise with the SAS. You can see on the left-hand side there a trooper, probably an NCO or possibly an officer, in the assault suit with the Storno press-to-talk button just clipped over the centre of the chest there, and he appears to have the Len-Dixon holster on his right hip. You can see by the way it's curved, the Len-Dixon holster is a wet moulded leather holster formed over a steel shank, which is contoured to go from the waistband where the belt sits to just above the top of the thigh, and sit in a good position to access the sidearm, which will be the Browning High Power at this time. And on his left side there seems to be a hint that there is an MP5 pouch there on his belt. You can see from the Storno press-to-talk button there'll be a throat microphone, again like the earpiece, integral to the button. It can't be removed. The rest of the picture, you can see various members of the regiment attending, standing round, and you'll notice in Prince Charles' hands and Lady Diana's hands they are holding sets of ear defenders. The precise model of these ear defenders isn't known to me, although I do believe I have a set of these particular ear defenders. They're an early type. It's a white plastic earpiece with a black covered metal headband. Not particularly remarkable. They're not active or electronic ear defenders, that particular model, as far as I can see. So this is a very good picture. This is the B Squadron rotation of the Special Projects team in attendance on the day where Princess Diana and Prince Charles are doing their familiarisation training. You can see there it's the blue team, and the picture is taken in March of 1983. And we have the assembly of kit that we've seen before for this period, the Mark II vest, the fluorocarbon blue suit. You can see the trooper kneeling in the centre of the picture has an MP5 with the top-mounted streamlight torch in an aluminium housing, and on the forward grip of his MP5 he has an attached SLR L1A1 grip from the main army battle rifle. These were used usually with a Jubilee clip to attach them to the front of the MP5, sitting just behind the front sight. And the other alternative that was used was a plastic grip from an FN FAL, and some of those were just heat moulded to the slimline foregrip of the MP5. The other troopers, as you can see, have the aircrew patch on the right collarbone position on the Mark II vest. They have the Storno press-to-talk buttons with the integral earpieces and throat microphones. Charles and Diana training day in March of 1983, where we can see an assault training scenario where a Range Rover with a rooftop platform and ladders mounted at the front are preparing to assault by frontal approach a building in what I believe to be the Pontrilas Army Training Area. A building which is described in books as being nicknamed the Embassy appears to be a breeze block construction with various entry points, balconies and levels which can be used for simulated assault scenarios. The troopers you can see on the top of the platform, as before, in the kit with the Mark II suede vest. A little indistinct, the equipment here, but you can see the troopers crouching on the roof there. The one man on the left of the picture, you can see he's got a MP5 pouch. And these would be likely to be either the early embassy-style pouches or more likely to be the newer Len Dixon pouches, which the regiment has acquired, now having funds to have more, if you like, bespoke equipment supplied. Clearly they're also using MP5s. You can see the green sling across the backs of the troopers here. Boots, not necessarily readily identifiable by the tread patterns, although I imagine there may be a combination of DMS boots, short ankle boots, which were extended into the pattern that we know as the Northern Ireland boot. Possibly there were other forms of standard army boot at this time. The boots combat high I don't think come in till about 1984. Another shot from the same exercise. There's a little bit of lore around these pictures. The previous one we saw a Range Rover assaulting the front of the building with troopers preparing to use an entry ladder on the top of the vehicle. The story is that in that picture the Range Rover is actually being driven by Princess Diana, and in this picture the small helicopter you see at the top of the picture was actually being piloted by Prince Charles, who was able to pilot such vehicles. The next picture, another from the same training day, shows a scenario with quite a bit of detail on the equipment. The trooper in the centre, I believe, is a gentleman who's referred to in some of the books as the Gonze, Gonze. I can't positively confirm that, but that's who I've been told he is. That's his nickname. And as you can see, wearing the equipment as described before, Mark II suede vest. You can see Trooper on the left has a Browning high power at the ready with an extended 20-round magazine. And you can pick out details of other equipment there on the guns in the centre. He's got the Len Dixon Browning holster, wet moulded holster with a 20-round mag on the Browning. And just to the left of that, you can see the other Trooper has the MP5 pouch made by Len Dixon, likely to be a combination of a leather backing and Kydex front that houses the magazines with brass press studs for securing that. A further picture in the Princess and Diana training day sequence. Again, all equipment clearly identifiable as before. You can see the troopers wearing the Mark II suede vests, laced at the sides. The chap on the left there has got some lacing missing. His body armour bulging out underneath, likely to be the Bristol armour vest that we see used from the time of the Iranian embassy siege onwards. Maybe he's put on a little bit of weight, I know the feeling, and his lacing has come asunder. Assisting Princess Diana there in the assault suit, you can see her from the rear. There is a story about this particular day that during the exercise there was a simulated rescue and extraction at which flashbangs were used, the L-13 type rubber canister grenades, and these eject a series of maroons which fly about the room and whistle and also operate at very high temperature, one of which may have lodged in her hair and as a result causing her hair to burn slightly. The story, so it goes, is that this was dealt with later by her adopting a new characteristic short Diana haircut that people became familiar with as part of her style. You can see again on the right hand side of the picture the standard equipment, Trooper with an MP5 with a Len Dixon MP5 pouch on the left thigh or hanging just behind, S6 respirator, Mark II vest, and so on. Another picture with Prince Charles in the centre there, wearing what appears to be a tank regiment coverall, the earlier pattern of assault suit, and actually just to his left, a gentleman who appears to be an officer or possibly an NCO, also looks like he's wearing a tank regiment coverall in what appears to be another training scenario. I'm not sure if this is the same occasion. I suspect it's a different one, and the feel of the equipment looks a little bit earlier than 1983. It might be 1981, 82. But you can see on the left-hand side the troopers have MP5s with the top-mounted streamlight, and they have the S6 respirator and what looks to be the blue shiny fluorocarbon assault suit. You can see also on the right the officer with the DPM jacket is holding an S6 respirator, and I think what looks like possibly a pair of ear defenders, the white shell ear defenders that I've described as well. And everybody seems to be having a bit of a laugh. The sequence showing the Charles and Diana training day scenario in March 1983 inside the CQB range, the close quarter battle range familiarly known as the Killing House, with, as you can see, a setup of Charles and Diana seated around a table with two other persons, and around them a team of troopers are bursting in to engage with targets, presumably representing terrorists or other such naughty people. And from the picture you can see that there is something of a a flashlight source perhaps that's making the troopers' suits look bright grey or white in this picture. I presume that's because this has been taken with the lights out. You can just about make out in the picture that the troopers are wearing night vision goggles, which we cover in one of our videos in order to engage fully or as near as fully as possible in the dark. You can see, again, as before, Mark II vests, Len Dixon holsters on the hip, assault suits, and so on. And you can see Diana there appears to be crouched over the table, probably with her hands over her ears, as likely flashbangs will have been deployed. So this next picture is out of the sequence of those previous and is taken somewhat later. I've estimated a date for this picture to be around 1995, possibly 1996. And what you can see outside the CQB range, outside the killing house at Hereford, you can see Diana in the centre of the picture there, and to her right, William to our left, as we look at the picture, and just standing in front of her in the blue check shirt, Prince Harry, flanked by two troopers who are in equipment of this period. The Mark II vest has persisted right the way through the 80s into the mid-90s. We can see it's distinctly there with the aircrew patch on the right collarbone. By this time, the military have changed over to the S10 series of respirators, the SAS having the option of the SF10, which has some modifications that we discuss in our main video to the main military issue S10 respirator. They're also wearing Protec plastic bump helmets, you might call them. This is a familiar sight when you look at other militaries during this period for a lightweight but non-ballistic combat helmet for dynamic situations. These are manufactured by Protec. People would be familiar with them making helmets for things like skateboarding and kayaking and so on, adventure sports, but they serve a function at this time for troopers who are rushing around into buildings, possibly bumping their heads. You can see they're also still armed with the MP5, and in this period we have the characteristically underslung maglite under the front of the weapon. It's attached by some custom metal work in machined aluminium made by Mill Arms of Leominster near to Hereford, and this is an adjustable target illumination system which allows the light from the maglite to be zeroed at the user's preference to the MP5 at a set given range, which allows for fast target acquisition. At this time they'll be wearing equipment that's some of which probably mixed between some equipment possibly by Len Dixon, although as sidearms have changed over by this time to the Sig Sauer P226, the likelihood is that they've moved on from Len Dixon at this point and are using belt kit made by Paul Evers, which is very similarly patterned, accommodating that pistol, and there will be pouches, usually open top pouches by Paul Evers for MP5 magazines. The detail's a little bit indistinct on this picture, but you can see they're wearing assault suits of the standard MOD NSN NATO stock number pattern, which will be blue, dark fire blue Nomex, supplied by GD Specialist Supplies. A picture here featuring Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip standing there behind her. And again, this suggests that it may be in the CQB range at Hereford or a similar facility. The reason I say that, because of the background, they appear to be in a training area where the walls are covered in the red ballistic rubber that's used to line such buildings to absorb the impact of bullet strikes. On the left of the picture there is a trooper dressed with some elements that we recognise. He's got his MP5 slung there over his body armour, presumably. Although this is a training scenario, I can't be 100% sure. He's got a vest on, an assault vest, which is not one that's particularly familiar to me. It looks to be of a Cordura construction. You can see on the bottom front left panel he appears to have shotgun shells, which were seen on vests, suede vests, the Mark III suede vests that we used in the late 90s to the early 2000s period. And he's got a blue NSN pattern Nomex suit. This person appears to be a man who is described as Sergeant Eddie Collins, who was a well-known and well-regarded member of the SAS, who unfortunately was killed in an operation in Iraq in 2007. As I say, he's got the Cougar fist mic on the left collarbone position there, typically where it would be worn with an earpiece. So it's a fairly simple setup from what we can see from here. He'll have presumably a holster, belt, MP5 pouch just out of shot below, and we can see he's got what appear to be aircrew gloves on. And lastly, we have a picture showing the late Queen Mother, who is greeting a line of troopers there in equipment which I've dated to the mid-90s, 1995, perhaps 1996, where, as you can see, Mark II suede vests, Cougar fist mics there. You can make out that the MP5 is featuring the underslung maglite. Obviously, the picture, given the life of the Queen Mother, who passed away in 2002, is from before then, but I would say before 1997, when I think the vest changes to the Mark III vest with the distinctive shotgun cartridge loops on the front. You can see the troopers wearing the blue Nomex suits, and if you look, you can see the haircuts also sort of suggest that period of the 90s. Thanks very much for watching this video of reference pictures about the royal family and the SAS. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. In the meantime, please like and subscribe to the Kit Locker on YouTube, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.